This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Hello and welcome from Beijing. I'm Wang Mangmang. Authorities from the Communist Party of China are briefing the media with the theme, Building a Beautiful China, where humanity and nature coexist in harmony. And this is the 5th press conference held by the Press Center for the 20th CPC National Congress after Sunday's opening session. And we bring you just that.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the 5th press conference held by the Press Center for the 20th CPC National Congress. We have invited Mr. Zhai Qing, Vice Minister of the Ministry of Ecology and Environment and a delegate to the Congress and member of the leading party member group of the ministry to brief you on building a beautiful China with harmony between humanity and nature. Now, opening remarks from Mr. Zhai Qing. Thank you. Friends from the media, good morning. It is a great pleasure to meet you all. On the occasion of the 20th CPC National Congress, it is of great significance to share with you the understanding and implementation of the guiding principles of the Congress, Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization and building a beautiful China featuring harmony between humanity and nature. First of all, on behalf of the Ministry of Ecology and Environment, I would like to thank you for your long-standing interest in, understanding, and support for China's endeavors in developing an ecological civilization and protecting the environment. The 20th CPC National Congress is a milestone in the development of the cause of the party and the country. The report delivered by General Secretary Xi Jinping elaborated on the major theoretical and practical issues in adhering to and developing socialism with Chinese characteristics in the new era, and clearly outlined the goals, tasks, and major policies for developing the cause of the party and the country in the years ahead. It is a political declaration and program of action for the party to unite and lead the people of all ethnic groups in building a modern socialist country in all respects and advancing the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation in an all-round way. The report also provided a comprehensive summary and systematic plan for the development of ecological civilization, as well as ecological conservation and environmental protection. We will study it conscientiously to gain a thorough understanding and resolutely translate it into action. Since the 18th Party Congress, General Secretary Xi Jinping, bearing in mind sustainable development of the Chinese nation and with the acute insight, judgment, and theoretical creativity of a Marxist statesman, thinker, and strategist, has vigorously promoted innovation in theory, practice, and institution on the development of an ecological civilization, and put forward a series of new concepts, ideas, and strategies that embody both Chinese characteristics and the spirit of the times, and are intended to lead the progress of human civilization. It is on that basis that Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization was formed. Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization is an important part of Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era. It is an enhancement of existing theories and crystallization of past practices in the party's unremitting exploration in advancing ecological civilization. It is a major outcome from adapting Marxist tenets to China's practices in developing an ecological civilization and its fine traditional ecological culture. It is a reflection of the practical and theoretical innovation in governance by the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core in the area of ecological civilization. It is a common wealth of the human society in terms of sustainable development, and it is the fundamental guide for action in developing an ecological civilization in China in the new era. In the past decade, under the guidance of Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization, we have followed the principle that lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets, consistently applied a holistic approach to the conservation and management of mountains, rivers, forests, farmland, lakes, grassland, and deserts. Our endeavors in developing an ecological civilization and protecting the environment have seen historic, transformative, and sweeping changes, which are best reflected in the three unprecedented aspects. First, unprecedented resolve. We have incorporated the following targets into corresponding overall goals or plans, incorporating building a beautiful China into the goal of making China a great modern socialist country, ecological civilization development into the five-sphere integrated plan, harmony between humanity and nature into the basic policies for upholding and developing socialism with Chinese characteristics in the new era, green development into the new development philosophy, and pollution prevention and control into the three critical battles. All these have fully demonstrated the importance of ecological civilization in the cause of the party and the country, as well as our party's resolve and commitment to strengthening the development of ecological civilization. Second, unprecedented intensity of efforts. We have made efforts across the board, including in thinking, legislation, institution, organization, and conduct, and strengthened ecological conservation and environmental protection in all fields, regions, and processes. We have made systematic plans to reform the structure for building an ecological civilization, vigorously promoted green, circular, and low-carbon development, fought tenaciously to win the battle against pollution, stepped up efforts in protecting and restoring the ecosystem, and stayed committed to a development path that ensures increased levels of production, better living standards, and a sound ecology. Third, unprecedented achievements. Over the past decade, China has sustained an annual growth rate of 6.6% with an average 3% annual growth rate in energy consumption. The average concentration of fine particulate matter in cities at and above prefecture level dropped from an annual average of 46 milligram per cubic meters in 2015 to 30 in 2021, making China the country with the fastest improvement in air quality across the world. The proportion of surface water sections with excellent and good water quality reached 84.9%. which is
发达国家的水平。
close to the level of developed countries.
全国土壤污染风险
Nationwide, soil pollution risks have been basically brought under control.
我国生态环境保护取得的成就
With the achievements in ecological conservation and environmental protection widely recognized by the
全球生态文明建设的
international community, China has become an important participant, contributor, and champion in developing an ecological civilization globally.
过去5年和新时代
Acknowledging the achievements in ecological civilization development in the last 5 years, and as well as the past 10 years in the new era, General Secretary Xi Jinping, in his report to the Congress, further elaborated
中国式现代
that
化
the Chinese path to modernization has
和谐共生的
an
现代
essential
化
requirement to
对推动
promote harmony
绿色
between
发展
humanity and
促
nature.
进人与自然和谐共生
He
做出了重
laid
大
out
的
major
安排
plans
部署
for fostering such harmony and
为推进美
facilitating
丽
green
中国建
development
设
and charted the
指明了
course for
前进的方
building
向
a beautiful China.
我们将全面贯彻
We
20大
will
精神
fully translate the guiding
坚持以
principles of the Congress
习
into
近
action,
平新时代
follow the
中国特
guidance
色
of
社会主义思想为
Xi
指导
Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese
深入学习贯彻
characteristics for a new
习
era.
近平生态文明
Thoroughly
思想
study and act on
不断地
Xi
开
Jinping
创
thought on
生态
ecological
环境保护工
civilization
作的
to keep
新局面
breaking new ground in our work
以生
in
态环境
ecological conservation and
高水平
environmental
保护
protection, promote
推动
high quality
高质量
development
发展
and high standards
创造
of living through
高品
stronger
质生活
protection of the environment,
为建设美丽中国
and contribute
全面推
to
进
building
中华民族伟
a
大复兴
beautiful China
贡献力
and to
量
realizing the great rejuvenation of the
我简要
Chinese
介绍这里
nation.
谢谢大家
With that, I conclude my opening remarks. Thank you.
下面大
Thank
家可
you.
以开始提问
Now
提
the
问前
floor
还是
is
请通报
open
所
for
在的新闻
questions.
机构
Please identify your media affiliation before asking your question.
中区一排右数第2位男士。
谢谢主持人。中央广播电视总台央视记者提问。
China Central Television.
这些年来，我国生态环境
The
质量
past few years have seen significant improvement of the environment, as evidenced by the bluer sky, the greener mountain, and
我想
cleaner
请翟
water.
部长详细介绍一下当前美丽中国建
Please
设
talk about the progress in building a beautiful China.
要推
The
进
20th National Party Congress report also mentioned Beautiful China, how it will be implemented, and what measures will be taken.
谢谢你的提问。
Thank you for the question.
习近平总书记
General Secretary Xi Jinping clearly identified the goal
从2035年
building China into a great modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally
和
advanced,
谐美丽的
harmonious, and beautiful from 2035 through the middle of
并
this
对推
century.
进美丽中
And
国建
he
设
made important instructions on building a beautiful China.
建设美丽中国
Building a beautiful China
既是全面建
is
设
an important
社会
part
主义
of building a modern socialist country.
又是
It is
人
also
民群众
what the
对
people
优美生
have
态环境的
aspired for.
热切期盼，也是
A beautiful
生态文
China
明建设
will
成
embody
效的
our
其中
achievements
体现。
in ecological conservation.
党的18大提出，努力建
The
设
18th
美丽中国，
Party National Congress raised the idea of building a beautiful
到
China,
2035
and
年
the 19th Party National Congress
根本好转。
noted that we need to improve the environment by 2035 and realize the goal of building a beautiful China.
高度重视美丽中
General
国
Secretary
建
Xi
设，
Jinping attached high importance
多次
to
做出
the
了
building of a beautiful
重要的
China
指示批示。
and made many important
在
instructions.
习近平生态文明思想的
Under the guidance
科学指
of
引下，
Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization,
把生态文明
the
建设
party has attached high importance to ecological conservation, as it concerns the sustainable development of the Chinese nation. And we carried out a series of fundamental, groundbreaking, and long-term work, making significant strides in building a beautiful China, and we created miracles in green development and ecological conservation. First, pollution prevention and control has made further progress. We've been determined in addressing pollution and implemented the air, water, soil, pollution prevention and control action plans, which is also known as the 3 10-point action plans. All these are aimed at maintain blue sky, clear water, and clean soil, and we solved a large number of outstanding environmental problems. In 2021, the average concentration of PM2.5 in cities above the prefecture level dropped by 34.8% compared with 2015, and the ratio of good air quality days increased to 87.5%. The proportion of surface water sections with excellent and good water quality reached 84.9%, and the proportion of poor quality water bodies dropped to 1.2%. The risk of soil pollution was effectively controlled, and import of foreign garbage and waste has been prohibited, realizing the goal of zero import of solid waste. With bluer sky, clean water, and cleaner soil, the people's sense of gaining happiness and security in terms of ecological environment continued to increase. Second, we further enhanced ecological protection and restoration. We introduced the ecological protection red line system and established a nature reserve system of national parks. Up to now, the area of various types of nature reserves at all levels accounts for about 18% of the country's land area. We established the first batch of 5 national parks, including the Sanjiangyuan and Giant Panda National Park. We have taken a holistic and systematic approach to the conservation of mountains, water, forests, farmland, grasslands, and deserts, and implemented major biodiversity conservation projects. The wild population of more than 300 species of rare and endangered animals and plants have been restored and increased, as evidenced by the wild elephants in Yunnan who traveled north, the frequent appearance of Yangtze River finnis porpoise, the antelopes in Tibet, and the reappearance of indigenous fish in Baiyangdian. All these show significant progress in our biodiversity protection. Third is solid steps in green, circular, and low-carbon development. We've seized the opportunity of environmental protection to facilitate economic restructuring. And we have pursued carbon peaking and carbon neutrality as part of ecological conservation and our economic and social development endeavors. And we contributed to the comprehensive green and low-carbon transition with these efforts. In 2021, the national carbon dioxide emissions per unit of GDP dropped by 34.4% compared with 2012. And the share of coal in primary energy consumption dropped from 68.5% to 56%. We are now the world's largest producer and consumer of renewable energy and new energy vehicles. The green approach has become the distinctive feature of our high-quality development. Looking ahead, we can see that over the past 10 years, both the party and the government have taken the initiative to build a beautiful China. We've fully implemented the decisions of the Party Central Committee and continued to expand green areas and improve living conditions in urban and rural areas. We can see many beautiful scenes of the harmonious development between man and nature. Looking ahead, we will fully implement the Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization. Keep in mind the goal of building a beautiful China, and we will make consistent efforts to make new progress in ecological conservation, make new achievements in green transition of economic and social development, and make new breakthroughs in establishing a sound, modern environmental governance system, and strive to build a beautiful China of green mountains, clean water, and clear air. Thank you.
好，下一个问题。那西区第3排右数第1位男士。
谢谢。光明日报记者提问。
光明 Daily.
前不久啊，咱们那个习近平
Not
生态
long
文明思
ago,
想学习纲要一书
the publication of the book Study Outline of Xi Jinping Thought on Ecological Civilization has sparked a widespread learning frenzy.
生态文明思想
So how would you understand the essence and contribution of the Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization? And the research center on this thought was launched in July 2021. So far, what has been achieved? Thank you for your question. This is a very important one. In May 2018, the Party Central Committee held the National Conference on Ecological Protection, where Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization was established, forming the theoretical foundation for ecological civilization in the new era. At the end of July this year, the study outline of Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization, compiled by the Central Publicity Department and the Ministry of Ecology and Environment, was officially published. This has provided a supplementary reading for in-depth learning and understanding of Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization. The thought is a complete, logical, rich and profound philosophy, which can be summed up by 10 adherences, which means adhere to the following 10 important aspects. Number 1, the party's overall leadership of ecological civilization. Number 2, the ecological prosperity will lead to greater civilization. Number 3, the harmonious coexistence of man and nature. Number 4, lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets. Number 5, good ecological environment will benefit all. Number 6, green development is a profound revolution in the concept of development. Number 7, take a systematic approach to the improvement of mountains, waters, forests, farmlands, grainlands, and deserts. Number 8, follow the strictest system and rule of law to protect the ecological environment. Number 9, make the building of a beautiful China a voluntary action of the general public. Number 10, seek a common path toward global ecological civilization. These 10 adherences answered a series of major theoretical and practical questions, including why building ecological civilization, building what kind of ecological civilization, and how to do that. Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization is very significant. Its original contribution is mainly reflected in the following 4 aspects. First, it has deepened and innovated our party's theoretical achievements on ecological civilization and elevated our party's understanding of ecological civilization to a new height. Second, it inherits and innovates the Marxist view of nature and ecology and adapts the Marxist thought on the relationship between man and nature to the new era. Third, it has absorbed and developed the fine traditional Chinese ecological culture and injected a fresh vitality to philosophical ideas such as unity of heaven and man and the way of nature in China in the 21st century. Fourth, it expands and moves beyond global experience on sustainable development and is a major achievement of Chinese modernization and a new form of human civilization. In May 2021, the CPC Central Committee approved the establishment of the Research Center on Xi Jinping Thought on Ecological Civilization at the Ministry of Ecology and Environment. The establishment of this center is an important measure taken by the CPC Central Committee. Our ministry attached great importance to this measure and strengthened leadership over it. We set up a leading group to promote the construction of the research center, formulated medium and long-term construction plans and programs, and channeled resources to build 3 highlands and 2 platforms. A theoretical research highland for the Xi Jinping thought, and publicity highlands, a platform for practice, and a platform for international publicity. Over the past year, we have actively promoted theoretical research and interpretation of Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization, led the efforts in organizing major projects of the Marxist theory research, and compiled theoretical readings such as the study outline under the guidance of the Central Publicity Department. We accelerated the construction of a case bank and contact points at local levels, and summarized and promoted local experiences and practices in implementing Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization. For 3 consecutive years, we have held seminars on the study and implementation of Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization. And we have created a specific magazine devoted to the study of the thought, and we have worked actively to promote the thought. All these have given a strong boost to the theoretical interpretation, academic expression, systematic construction, popular campaign, and international publicity of Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization. Going forward, we will, in accordance with the arrangement of the Party Central Committee, continue to deepen the research, publicity, and interpretation of Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization, so that people in China and across the world can well appreciate it. Thank you.
东区第4排右数第2位这位女士。
好的，谢谢主持人。香港大公文汇传媒集
With
团
Dakong Wenwei.
汇报记者注页提问。那么想请问翟部长，我们知道啊，中央生态环境保护督察作为环境保护
As we know that central supervision, as a sharp sword of environmental protection, has played an important role over the years. What are the effective practices and results? And how will the supervision be carried out in the future? Thank you for your question. Central supervision on environmental protection is a major institutional innovation and reform measure with the personal commitment and guidance of General Secretary Xi Jinping. It is a major achievement and institutional guarantee of Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization. In every key link and moment, General Secretary Xi Jinping has led the way, making important remarks and instructions on multiple occasions, and reviewing the work arrangements, reports, rectification proposals, and implementation reports. He has provided guidance for the supervision work, starting with the pilot projects at the end of 2015. 2 rounds of supervision have been completed, covering the 31 provinces and the Xinjiang Production and Construction Corps. We also covered some departments and SOEs. During the supervision, we have kept to the political direction, regarded the implementation of Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization as a major political task, and taken the implementation of General Secretary Xi's instructions as the top priority. Bearing in mind the big picture, we have adhered to and we have coordinated economic performance, people's well-being, COVID prevention and control, and ecological environmental protection. We remain strict and problem-oriented We face up to the problems and take real actions. And we've taken a calibrated, proper, and law-abiding approach to ensure that the results of the supervision can withstand the test of history and practice. Over the past few years, the supervision work has been recognized by the Central Party Committee and the public. It has received support by all social sectors and solved many problems. It has achieved good political, economic, environmental, and social effects. To be more specific, first, the supervision has promoted the implementation of Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization. Through the supervision, the thought has become more popular. General Secretary Xi's instructions on environmental protection have been resolutely implemented. And the concept that lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets has become a consensus of the whole party and society. Second, it has made clear the political responsibility for ecological protection. All regions and departments have raised the political stance, regarded the supervision as a major political task, a major undertaking vital to people's well-being, and a major development issue. The party and the government both endeavored to protect the environment. Third, it has addressed a number of outstanding ecological and environmental problems. The supervision focused on the outstanding cases, including thorny and long-term ones. It solved a large number of long-standing problems. These problems fell into two categories. It includes the reports by the general public and also by cases found during the supervision. Among the 3,294 tasks specified in the first round of rectification proposals, 96% have been completed, and nearly 60% of the 1,227 tasks specified in the first three batches of the second round have been completed, while the fourth, fifth, and sixth batches of rectification are well underway. The two rounds of supervision received a total of 287,000 letters and visits from the public, among which 286,000 cases have been completed. Fourth, it has promoted high-quality economic development. Supervision is to make sure that all local governments prioritize ecological protection, pursue green development, coordinate high-quality economic development and high level of ecological protection. Going forward, we will take stock of the experience, implement Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization, plan for the third round of supervision, stay focused, adhere to the strict tone, focus on solving outstanding environmental problems, meet people's expectations of a beautiful environment, and contribute to the building of a beautiful China in harmony with nature. Thank you.
好，请大家继续提问。那西区第二排左数第一位男士。
Thank you. A question from Bloomberg. Climate change has fueled a substantial increase in severe weather events that have caused droughts and flooding in China and around the world. My question is, will China take more actions to address threats by climate change, and what will these measures be? Thank you.
好，请。
我是彭博新闻社的记者。气候变化导致包括中国在内的世界多地干旱和洪水等灾害大幅增加。那么我的问题是，中国是否会采取更多的行动来应对气候变化造成的威胁？能不能阐释一下这些具体的措施？
谢谢你的提问。这是一个很重要的问题。
Thank you for your question. This is a very important question.
气候变化是当前突出的全球性挑战。
Climate change is a prominent global
事关
challenge
国际社会的
and
共
a
同利益。
matter of common interest for the international
习近
community.
平总书记多次强调
General Secretary Xi Jinping
应对气候变化
has repeatedly emphasized that addressing climate change is not something others ask us to do, but something we want to do.
发展的
It is required by our sustainable development,
构建
and it is a responsibility to promote the building of a community with a shared future for
党的
mankind.
20大报告明确提出统筹产业结构
The report to the 20th Party Congress states that we must address the industrial structure, cut pollution, and address climate change to achieve carbon peak and carbon
坚决
neutrality.
地贯彻落实。
We will faithfully implement all these requirements.
中国
For a long
应对气候
time,
变化
China has integrated climate response into the overall strategy of national economic and social
把应对
development
气候变化
and taken it as an important means to promote ecological civilization and achieve high-quality development.
通过实施积极应对气候变化
Through the
国
implementation
家战略
of the national strategy to actively respond to climate change,
优化
progress has been made in a series of policy measures to adjust industrial structure, optimize energy mix, improve energy efficiency, establish market mechanisms, and increase
各项
forest
工作
carbon
取得
sink.
积极的进展。2020年，
In
中国
2020,
碳排放强度
China's carbon emission intensity dropped by 48.4% compared with 2005, exceeding the target committed to the international community.
2021年，我国煤炭占
The
能源消费
proportion
总
of
量的
coal
比重
in China's total energy
由
consumption
2005年
dropped from
72.4%
72.4% in 2005 to 56% in 2021. The proportion of non-fossil energy consumption reached 16.6%.
能源
The installed capacity of renewable energy power generation exceeded 1 billion kilowatts,
光
and the installed capacity of wind, light, water, and biomass power generation
稳居
ranked the first in the world.
我国是全球森林资源增长
China is the country with the largest growth in forest resources and the largest area of planted forest in the world,
增绿的主力军，
and is a main force in greening the world.
全球
We have launched the world's largest national carbon market covering greenhouse gas emissions,
有效地发挥
effectively playing the role of market mechanism in controlling greenhouse gas emissions
推动
and promoting green and low carbon
我
transition.
们发布了适应气候变
We
化
have released a national strategy for climate change adaptation and continued to carry out pilot projects on adaptive cities. Our ability to adapt to climate change has kept improving.
同时呢，我们积极地为
As the world's
全球
largest developing country, China has made positive contributions to the global efforts against climate change. China will complete the world's highest carbon emission intensity reduction, and in the shortest time in global history, we will achieve from carbon peak to carbon neutrality. This fully reflects China's sense of responsibility as a major country. We uphold multilateralism and the principles of fairness, common but differentiated responsibilities, and respective capabilities. We actively promoted the signing, entry into force, and implementation of the Paris Agreement. We have taken an active part in South-South cooperation on climate change, and we are doing our best to help other developing countries, especially small island states, African countries, and LDCs, to improve their climate response capacity to reduce the adverse impacts of climate change. Going forward, China will continue to implement the national strategy to actively respond to climate change, implement the 1+N policy system of carbon peak and carbon neutrality, accelerate the green and low-carbon transition in key areas, and vigorously promote concerted efforts to cut carbon emissions and reduce pollution. Build national carbon market in a steady and orderly manner. Accelerate green and low-carbon technology research and application, and promote the formation of a green and low-carbon way of production and life. At the same time, we will work with all parties to actively participate in the global governance of climate change, build a fair and reasonable global climate governance system featuring win-win cooperation. We will continue to deepen South-South cooperation on climate change and contribute Chinese insight, Chinese strength, and Chinese input to address global climate change. Thank you.
中区第5排这位女士，中区第5排，右手这位女士，对。
好，谢谢主持人。劲报记者提问。
Thank you, China Environment News. At the opening session of the 20th Party Congress, General Secretary Xi Jinping said that China's ecological conservation system has been improved. In recent years, China established and implemented a series of systems such as central inspection and environmental compensation. The reform is unprecedented. Please talk about the overall picture of the reform. What progress has been made, and what are the plans for the next step? Thank you.
谢谢你的提问。
Thank you for the question.
坚持用最严格的制度
Protect the environment with the strictest system and rule of law is the core principle of Xi Jinping's thought on ecological civilization. General Secretary Xi Jinping stressed the importance of the rule of law and regulation in building the ecological civilization and protect the environment. Since the 18th Party Congress, under the guidance of Xi Jinping's thought on ecological civilization and Xi Jinping's thought on the rule of law, China has realized remarkable progress in building a sound legal framework for ecological conservation. Ecological civilization has been written into the constitution of the party and the country. 25 related laws, including the Environmental Protection Law, the protection of wetland, have been revised. 2 umbrella documents were issued, including the opinions on accelerating the building of ecological civilization and the overall plan for the institutional reform for ecological civilization. And a series of innovative systems have been established. All these have formed the institutional framework of ecological civilization. First, the regulatory system has become more strict and sound. In the past decade, a series of major practices and systems have been introduced, including the Central Inspection on Environmental Protection, Ecological Protection Red Line, national parks, zone-based ecological conservation, river and lake responsibility system, forest responsibility system, sewage permit, environmental quality monitoring. From a higher level, comprehensive ban on the export and import of foreign waste, carbon emission trading, new pollutant management, river and sea outfall management, etc. These practices have provided important institutional guarantee for ecological protection. Second, the responsibility system has realized a historic breakthrough. We have improved the system for enforcing accountability of both party and government officials on environmental protection. We issued the list of responsibilities for environmental protection, required that officials in charge of development, protection, and industry must also take care of environmental protection. We enforced lifelong accountability for environmental damages, introduced the practice of exit audit of natural resources assets, environmental performance evaluation, ecological compensation, and damage compensation, as well as environmental monitoring. We made clear that evaluators should also be the monitor and should be responsible for the results. We also made sure that relevant results are released in accordance with law. A system of responsibilities featuring leadership by the party and the government, businesses at the mainstay, participation by social organizations and the public have been improved with unprecedented levels of accountability. Third is better division of institutional functions. At the national level, the Ministry of Ecology and Environment was established to combine the scattered responsibilities of ecological and environmental protection, and is in charge of the supervision and law enforcement concerning urban and rural pollution emission, thus realizing a holistic approach of ecological protection that covers both air and soil, onshore and offshore, land and sea, urban and rural areas, as well as carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. At the same time, we also realized unified policy planning, standard setting, monitoring and evaluation, supervision and enforcement, and inspection and accountability. At the local level, positive progress has been made in the reform of the institutions. Looking ahead, we will continue to deepen environment-related decisions of the 20th Congress report. We will continue with the institutional reform, uphold the rule of law in ecological conservation and environmental protection, and tap the advantages of our system into the improvement of governance. We will accelerate the modernization of the ecological governance system and capacity. Thank you.
西区第一排左数第3位这位男士。
谢谢主持人。香港紫荆杂志社提问：党的18大以来，
Zhai Magazine. Since the 18th Party National Congress, especially after the strictest environmental law in history came into force, environment-related law enforcement has been intensified and, as some noted, is with teeth. Please talk about relevant work and progress, as well as the future plans in this regard. Thank you.
好，谢谢你的提问。
Thank you for the
生态
question.
环境执法是
Environment-related law enforcement is a very basic work of environmental protection. It is very important as well. General Secretary Xi Jinping has stressed on many occasions the need to protect the ecological environment with the strictest system and the rule of law. And there should be zero tolerance for acts that damage the environment.
这10年来，
Over the past decade,
最强的
we have
责任担当，
enforced relevant laws with a high sense of responsibility,
最优的
strict means,
防腐意识，
and a readiness to help.
生态环境执法展现了新时
The
代
law enforcement team
生态环境
has shown good performance in the new era,
为生态环境
and they have played an important role in
重要的保障。
improving the environment.
一是在污染空
First,
间战中担当
we've
重
shown courage in the fight against
我们紧紧
pollution.
地围绕污染防治，
We focused on prevention and control of major pollutions
坚持问题导向，
and key problems.
坚持
We
一
worked
竿子插到底，
relentlessly to get things done.
发现问题，
We listed every identified problems to make sure that no problems remain unresolved,
最后一步。
thus finishing the last mile of policy implementation.
2017年以
For
来，
example, since
我们连
2017,
续5年
for 5 consecutive years,
生态环境系统
we sent nearly
骨干力量，
50,000 people
用时
and
1300
took more than 1,300 days
以及
to
周边
carry out
重点区域压查开展
air pollution prevention and control supervision in Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei, and other key areas. We altogether carried out 105 rounds
在最
of
紧张的时候，
supervision.
每年只有春节的时候，大家可以休息几天。
Only during the Spring Festival, there's time to
累计
take a
检查
break.
超过
And
200
every day during the whole year, our people work on the front line to address the problems, covering more than 2.1 million inspection sites and helped resolve 280,000 air pollution problems. All these have improved the air quality.
2018年年底开始试点，
Also,
我们大规模的
since the end of 2018, we carried out a pilot program to address the problems concerning river and lake outfalls. We focused on the
先用无人机
mainstream of Yangtze River and the branch of Minjiang River. We carried out remote sensing supervision and inspection covering 46,000
我们仍然采用
kilometers.
一竿子插到底方式，
We worked relentlessly to make sure that solutions must be found. We dispatched 4,600 people in 1,600 groups, and they covered 180,000 kilometers of various sites, and they discovered 60,000 various kinds of problems. That is more than 30 times reported previously. And to realize this result, we've overcome many difficulties and used various techniques, and all these have been realized step by step with hard work. Water pollutants, as you know, came from various kind of outfalls. So by enhancing supervision on various kinds of outfalls, we can make a big difference in improving water quality and lay a solid foundation for improving relevant work. And now we are carrying out related inspections and supervision along the Yellow River. And third, we protected the environment. And second, we firmly upheld the authority of law. We continued to enhance law enforcement efforts to ensure law compliance and punish violations. Here, please allow me to share with you two sets of data. Since the implementation of the new environmental protection law in 2015, we handled more than 170,000 major cases. During the 13th five-year plan period, 833,000 cases were processed nationwide, an increase of 1.4 times over the 12th five-year plan period. Moreover, we enhanced coordination with the criminal justice system. In 2016 and 2018, two typical cases of environmental data fraud were addressed. 23 people were held criminally responsible, which is the first time in the history of ecological protection. And among these 23 people, some were sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, and those with minor offenses were sentenced to half a year imprisonment. This has ensured a high level of deterrence. At the same time, we have improved law enforcement by randomly picking inspectors and targets of inspection. We also explored a positive list-based regulation covering over 42,000 enterprises and strengthened off-site law enforcement. These efforts are aimed to keep law-abiding companies free from any disturbance. We also widely applied many technologies such as air drones, the remote sensing satellite, and other advanced technologies, which have made sure that we can discover more problems. And third, we have protected the environmental rights of the public. For 4 consecutive years, we carried out special operation to protect environment of drinking water sources. covering 2,804 water resources and 10,363 problems. A number of acute problems have been resolved, thus ensuring the safety of drinking water for 770 million people. For 6 consecutive years, we carried out special operation on power plants that use waste to generate electricity. And we worked to make sure that these plants are equipped with online monitoring devices. And we also encouraged those companies to install a screen outside the plant with relevant data released in a timely manner on the screens. And also we have ensured online communication with those companies and plants. With these efforts, we can ensure timely monitoring of these plants and timely disclosure of relevant data and results. With these efforts, we can see that our special operation have made visible progress. And with these operations, 99% of companies have met relevant standards of emission and discharge. These have fundamentally changed the public view on those companies, and it has promoted the rapid growth of the waste-to-energy sector. In 2014, when we started the operation, there are 272 such plants with 679 incinerators, and now we have 1,826 incinerators. There is an increase of 197%. And now we can process 926,000 tons of waste every day. That is an increase of 27.8%. All this has contributed to the healthy development of the city. Fourth, we strengthened the law enforcement team. The environmental law enforcement team was officially included in the National Law Enforcement Unit and were equipped with uniform. For 6 years in a row, we have carried out large-scale training to enhance performance. Over the years, more than 80,000 law enforcement officers have worked on the front line of pollution prevention. They have been dedicated to the environmental protection work and improvement of the environment. Some even sacrificed their lives, such as Mr. Chen Wen from Wenning, Zhejiang, and many others worked overnight and even during holidays. They stayed up late into night to investigate environmental hazards. They've lived up to General Secretary Xi Jinping's important instructions on building a loyal, professional, and dedicated law enforcement team for the work of environmental protection. In the future, we will continue to maintain the strict keynote, improve the way of law enforcement, enhance effectiveness, and continue to build a strong team for law enforcement in our sector and make more contribution to the building of a beautiful China. Thank you.
东区第3排右侧右数第1位这位男士。
Thank you. Leonardo from Brazil 247. When listening to President Xi Jinping's report at the opening session of the 20th Congress, I was particularly impressed by the following remark. Lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets that must be firmly established, and development must be planned considering the harmonious coexistence between man and nature. I come from Latin America. That is a region that also enjoys lucid waters and lush mountains, from the Andes region to the Amazon rainforest. My question is, what good practices that China has in promoting green development that other countries can learn from? Thank you.
巴西247新闻网记者提问：习近平主席在20大报告中强调，必须牢固树立和践行绿水青山就是金山银山的理念，站在人与自然和谐共生的高度谋划发展。我来自拉丁美洲，拉美也有很多，例如亚马孙森林、安第斯山脉这样的原生态自然资源。请问中国在推动绿色发展、促进人与自然和谐共生方面有哪些好的经验和做法，值得全世界各国借鉴？谢谢。
好，谢谢你的提问。
Thank you for the question.
提得很好。
It's a very good one.
尊重自然，保护自然。
Respecting and protecting and following the laws of nature
社会主义现代化国家的
is an inherent requirement of fully building a modern socialist country. In the report to the 20th CPC National Congress, General Secretary Xi Jinping highlighted harmony between humanity and nature as one of the essential requirements of the Chinese path to modernization, and stressed the idea that lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets. And he emphasized the need to maintain harmony between humanity and nature when planning our development. Promoting green and low-carbon development is the basis for realizing harmony between humanity and nature. Since the 18th Party Congress, we have thoroughly applied the new development philosophy, and in the battle against pollution and the process of building a beautiful China, we have unswervingly promoted green and low-carbon development, and advanced a comprehensive green transformation of economic and social development. We have mainly carried out the following work. First, we all along gave priority to prevention at the source. We put in place zoning management and control of the ecological environment, accelerated the application of the results of 3 lines and 1 list, and we provided strong support for optimizing the layout of spatial development. We deepened environmental impact assessment management, strictly controlled environmental access, and resolutely curbed the blind development of projects that are energy intensive, polluting, and of low efficiency. We further advanced supply-side structural reform and industrial structure adjustment, phased out outdated production capacity, and significantly enhanced green and low-carbon economic development. Second, we coordinated pollution and carbon reduction. We published and implemented the implementation plan for synergizing pollution and carbon reduction, which integrates relevant planning, deployment, promotion, and assessment, facilitates the improvement and adjustment of industrial structure, energy structure, transportation structure, and land use structure. And we have promoted the upgrading of industrial enterprises, renovation of coal-fired boilers, and improvement of emission quality of motor vehicles. We accelerated the promotion and application of green and low-carbon technologies and vigorously cultivated energy-saving and environmental protection industries. In 2021, the revenue of the environmental protection industry was about 2.18 trillion yuan. That is a year-on-year growth of 11.8%. Third, we actively developed pioneers of green development. We gave priority to ecological conservation and green development and supported the implementation of major national and regional strategies, such as the coordinated development of Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei, the development of the Yangtze River Economic Belt, the development of the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area, the integrated development of the Yangtze River Delta, ecological protection, and high-quality development in the Yellow River Basin. We intensified efforts to develop demonstration areas of ecological civilization and designated 5 batches of 362 national ecological civilization demonstration cities and counties, and 136 innovation bases of lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets, and guided local governments to actively explore new high-quality development models that prioritize ecological conservation and green development. Fourth, we explored innovative policies on green and low-carbon development. The national carbon emission trading market has launched online trading, and the first compliance cycle has included 2,162 key emission plants in the power generation industry. The cumulative transaction volume of carbon emission quota is 179 million tons, and the cumulative transaction value is 7.661 billion yuan. We advanced the work related to environmental protection tax in an orderly manner and earnestly supported companies in carrying out energy saving and environmental protection transformation and comprehensive utilization of resources. Since 2018, tax reduction and preferential treatment for lower than pollutant discharge standards has totaled more than 10 billion yuan. We vigorously developed green finance and promoted the innovation of environmental-oriented development models, or EOD models. To date, 118 EOD projects have been guided to enter the project reserve bank and pushed to financial institutions. The total investment involved stood at more than 670 billion yuan. Among that, we have about 450 billion yuan of financing need, and a credit line of more than 129 billion has been granted, and more than 30 billion value of loans has been granted. Going forward, we'll continue to follow the guidance of Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization, coordinate industrial structure adjustment, pollution control, ecological protection, and climate response, and we will work hard to realize modernization where humanity and nature coexist in harmony. Thank you.
中区第2排左数第2位，这位女士。
好的，谢谢主持人。部长您好，
Thank you.
我是中央广播电视总台国广的记者。
I'm with
部长，您刚才提到了一个词
China
建设
Radio
绿色家
International.
园，我相信这也是
Building
全
a
人类
green
的共
home
同
is the
梦想。
common dream
那么
of
在中国这样一
mankind,
个有着
and
14
for
亿多
China,
人
a
口的发展中国
developing
家，
country
我
with
们想要
1.4
去
billion
推进
people,
生态文明
to
建设，
promote
我相信
ecological
它影响
civilization
本身
development.
也是具有
This
世
in
界性的
itself
全球
has
性的。
global
我的问
impact.
题是， 近年
My
来，在共
question
谋
is,
全
in
球生
recent
态文明
years,
建
in
设
the
之路，
process of
推动构
developing
建
global
人类
ecological
命
civilization
运共
and
同体
building
的
a
过程
community
中，
with
生
a
态
shared
环境
future
部具体
for
都做了
mankind,
哪些
what
工
has
作，
your
取得了什么
ministry
样的成
done,
果？
what
另外，下
results
一步的措
have
施
been
和行动
achieved,
还有哪
and
些？
what
谢
measures
谢。
and actions will be taken in the future?
谢谢你的提问。
Thank you.
习近平总书记站在共建
Bearing in mind the goal of building a community with a shared future for mankind, General Secretary Xi Jinping proposed to jointly build a clean and beautiful world and promote global sustainable development. Last year, General Secretary Xi Jinping put forth the Global Development Initiative, calling for stronger, greener, and healthier global development. This provides a fundamental guidance and program of action for us to actively participate in global environmental governance. As a participant, contributor, and pioneer in the development of global ecological civilization, we have firmly practiced multilateralism and worked hard to build a global environmental governance system that features fairness, equity, and win-win cooperation, making our contribution to the sustainable development of mankind. First, we made good progress in developing green cooperation under the Belt and Road Initiative. We established the Belt and Road Green Development International Alliance, and we strengthened policy dialogue, joint research, and capacity building with other member countries. And we included support for the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in the Belt and Road Cooperation. Up to now, the alliance has more than 150 partners in more than 40 countries. The Green Silk Road Messenger program has been implemented and strengthened exchange on technology innovation in the field. We have trained more than 3,000 environmental management personnel, experts, and scholars from more than 120 countries, building consensus and synergy for green development. Second, we took an active part in global environmental governance. We made steady efforts to promote the full and effective implementation of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and its Paris Agreement. General Secretary Xi Jinping pledged solemnly that we will strive to peak CO2 emission before 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality before 2060. We vigorously supported the green and low-carbon development of energy in developing countries and pledged not to build new coal power projects abroad. we accepted the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol to strengthen the control of non-CO2 greenhouse gases. We actively implemented the Convention on Biological Diversity and its protocols. Over the past decade, China's implementation of biodiversity conservation goals has been better than the global average. We successfully held the first phase of COP15, and the Kunming Declaration was released. At the meeting, General Secretary Xi Jinping announced that China would take the lead in investing 1.5 billion yuan to establish the Kunming Biodiversity Fund to support biodiversity conservation in developing countries, and fully leverage China's presidency to steer the process of global biodiversity governance. Third, we carried out multilateral and bilateral environmental cooperation. We established the China-EU high-level dialogue mechanism on environment and climate, and actively carried out exchange and dialogue mechanisms, such as the SCO Member States Environment Ministers Meeting and the China-ASEAN Environmental Cooperation Forum. We strengthened South-South cooperation and cooperation with neighboring countries, and supported projects and actions in areas such as biodiversity conservation, green economy, chemical management, and implementation of international environmental conventions in Africa, Southeast Asia, and South Asia, which produced good results. As of June 2022, 43 climate change cooperation documents have been signed with 38 developing countries, helping relevant countries improve their ability to cope with climate change by providing climate response supplies such as meteorological satellites, photovoltaic power generation systems, and new energy vehicles. Going forward, we will continue to implement Xi Jinping's thought on ecological civilization, work with all parties to address global environmental challenges, and contribute to the building of a community with a shared future for mankind. Thank you.
西区第6排最右侧这位男士。
谢谢主持人。大众日报记者提问。
Dazhong Daily, we noticed that various localities have attached high importance to building beautiful river banks, lake areas, and bay areas. What is the basic consideration of the ministry for this work? How is the progress so far, and what are your plans for the next step? Thank you. Thank you for the question. Beautiful rivers, lakes, and bays are important parts of a beautiful China. The Party Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, attaches high importance to this work. The 14th Five-Year Plan laid out important arrangements and clear requirements for this work. The ministry and other departments have firmly implemented the decisions of the Party Central Committee and made clear the basic principles for water and ocean environmental protection and the building of beautiful rivers, lakes, and bays, namely to uphold people-centered environmental protection and the building of beautiful environments. We focused on people's growing need for a beautiful environment and raised the goal of realizing beautiful rivers and lakes with clear water, fish, and plants, and the building of beautiful bays with clean water and beach and fish and birds. All these are aimed at realizing harmony between human beings and the environment. We set very simple and clear indicators as well as very clear requirements. We hope that the people can clearly understand what we aim to realize and can clearly feel the effect of our work. Second is to take persistent efforts to get things done. During the 14th five-year plan period, we have focused on the outstanding problems concerning people's daily lives. We guided local efforts to focus on the basis and quality, and focus on strengthening the weak links, so as to strive for breakthroughs in key areas. In building beautiful bays, we've identified 283 bays, each with clear goals and tasks for environmental improvement. Through these efforts, we hope to build a number of beautiful rivers, lakes, and bays by 2025, that is, during the 14th five-year plan period. And in the 15th and 16th five-year plan period, we will intensify relevant efforts to turn all our rivers, lakes, and bays into beautiful ones by 2035. Third is leading by example and building synergy. Last year, we collected nomination for the first batch of 18 beautiful rivers and lakes and 8 beautiful bays from all over the country. This initiative received high importance and attention from local party committees and governments, as well as lively participation by the public. We also received many support from the media who covered relevant news and events. Through this initiative, we mobilized the people to become participants and build greater synergy for this work. Going forward, the ministry will continue to follow Xi Jinping's thought on ecological civilization, promote the building of beautiful rivers, lakes, and bays, and make greater contribution to the building of a beautiful China. In the interest of time, last question.
东区第一排，左数第3位，这位男士。
谢谢主持人。中国教育报，中国教育
China Education News. In the report to the 20th Party Congress, General Secretary Xi Jinping stressed the need to promote green and low-carbon ways of production and life. What will be done to diversify the ways, forms, and means of participation so that the general public, including students and parents, can better take part in environmental protection, and the government, businesses, social organizations, and the public can all play their part? Thank you. General Secretary Xi Jinping pointed out that ecological civilization is a cause jointly contributed and shared by the people. And the building of a beautiful China should be a voluntary action of all the people. Since the 18th Party Congress, under the guidance of Xi Jinping's thought on ecological civilization, all regions and departments have made proactive efforts. The awareness of ecological civilization in the whole society has significantly increased, and the general public's initiative in participating in environmental protection has been significantly enhanced. Our work has been focused on the following three fronts. First, increasing awareness. We strengthened information disclosure and released various environmental quality information in a timely manner. We publicly exposed typical cases of environmental violations and effectively protected the public's right to know about the environment. We established a routine news release system, launched the Ministry of Ecology and Environment new media platform to release authoritative environmental information in a timely and accurate manner. We focused on key tasks such as the Central Ecological and Environmental Protection Inspection and Pollution Prevention and Control, organized reporters to follow environmental protection workers to the very front line, and provided more convenience for media interviews. And many journalists present have followed our personnel to the front line of environmental protection. And for major policies, regulations, and topical issues, publicity is immediately carried out through press conferences, interviews, and expert interpretations to help the public better understand the philosophy and propositions of Xi Jinping thought on ecological civilization and the measures and progress of ecological and environmental protection. Second, building consensus. Every year, we carry out a variety of national events for June 5th Environment Day. This year in particular, General Secretary Xi Jinping personally sent a congratulatory letter raising ardent expectations for the whole society to promote and practice the concept of ecological civilization. This was very well received in all sectors of society. The 18th Party Congress set out the goal of building a beautiful China, and we acted promptly and jointly launched the Beautiful China, I Can Play My Part action plan to raise citizens' awareness. We have also been selecting the volunteers in ecological civilization and the pioneers in this line of work. Third, promoting action. We jointly issued the Citizens' Ecological Environment Code of Conduct with 5 departments, including the Central Civilization Office, which encourages the public to actively adopt a green lifestyle from 10 aspects, including paying attention to the ecological environment, saving energy and resources, practicing green consumption, and choosing low-carbon ways of travel. This is dubbed by the media as the 4th 10 article after the 3 10 articles of water, gas, and soil in the field of ecological environment. It is known as the 10 Articles for the Citizens. Together with the Ministry of Housing and Urban-Rural Development, we continue to promote the information disclosure of 4 types of facilities, including environmental monitoring facilities, urban sewage treatment facilities, garbage treatment facilities, and hazardous waste or electronic waste treatment facilities. They are also open to the public. The people, while receiving environmental science education, can also conduct environmental supervision on the facilities. At present, more than 2,100 facilities across the country are open to the public, and more than 160 million visitors have been received online and offline, covering all cities at or above the prefecture level. We also published the relevant documents together with the Central Civilization Office and included the services related to ecology and resources as the practice of service mindset in the new era. We will continue to promote the publicity and education of ecological civilization, focused on building a national action system for ecological environment governance, and mobilize the whole society to participate in the development of ecological civilization and practice green lifestyles at a broader scale so as to consolidate the social foundation for improving environment quality and building a beautiful China. Thank you. That concludes our press briefing. Thank you, Minister Zhai, and thank you all.
All right, that was live picture from the media center. The Vice Minister of Ecology and Environment elaborated on Xi Jinping's important thought on ecological civilization and, of course, his main idea of building a beautiful China. The environmental official also reviewed sweeping changes in the past decade and elaborated on further plan down the road. He explained China's climate ambitions and also its further commitment to share its experiences with the rest of the world. And now, my colleague Xu Qinduo joins us from outside the Great Hall of the People. He's been covering the session there. Well, Qinduo, great to have you with us. Tell us about your major takeaways from this press conference.
Hi, Mom. Well, I can use a few words to describe, what I feel about this press conference and also China's efforts in this sector. The first word would be result. The result speaks for itself. As you mentioned, the spokesperson listed the tremendous progresses that China has made over the past 10 years. And if you take a look at even overseas studies, for example, University of Chicago earlier this year, they made a study. They found out that China had reduced the pollutions by 30 to 40%, and as a result, Chinese people's life expectancy has been expanded, basically extended by 2 to 4 years. I mean, that's really something. And the second word I would use to describe the Chinese effort would be the manner. When Chinese government says something, they mean it. And they not only talk the talk, they walk the walk. It's a bit different from, say, some of the countries on climate change, for example. They made promises, but sometimes they find it hard to materialize. But when Chinese government makes the promise of this, we know the two goals, the 2030 carbon neutrality, 2060 zero emissions. Few people question, few people have doubts that China will achieve those goals. And the third word I would like to use is really the priority. The Chinese government prioritizes the fight against pollution, the effort against climate change. One reason is really the Chinese tradition. Chinese tradition which stresses very much about balance or harmonious relationship between humanity and the nature. So that's basically a restoration or revival of the Chinese tradition. When the Chinese government decides to tackle this pollution issue, you can see the Chinese public are completely with them. And also, the Chinese government has gone beyond that. It's more than environment protection, climate change, sustainable development. It's also about they prioritize it as like ecological civilization. I think as time goes on, the international community will gain more and more understanding of the Chinese terminology here, civilization of ecology here. And lastly, you may say it's really the wisdom. The Chinese government, at the very early stage, they sensed this potential and this emerging industry. You may call it like a green industry. It's not only about protecting the environment or fighting climate change. It's a new industry, and that explains why China is leading in terms of the production of EV, batteries, the renewables in particular. So there's a reason. I think you have to give full credit to the Chinese government for this smart decision, this wisdom.
Well, thank you so much, Qingduo, for sharing with us your observance there from the Great Hall of the People. Now let's get some more analysis. I'm pleased to be joined here by Mr. Majun, Director of the Institute of Public and Environmental Affairs in Beijing. Great to have you with us, Mr. Ma. And we know that your NGO is noted for its work of providing clean water, clean drinking water, and also a green supply chain here in China. There's plenty of mention of lucid water and lush mountains are invaluable assets. And here we just heard the environmental officials saying that environmental enforcement actually ensures safe drinking water for over 700 million people. That's quite impressive. That's almost half of China's population. How has your NGO contributed to this cause?
Yeah, we try to work together with the agency and with the business and the public on this. And particularly during the past 5 years, when China initiated the Clean Water Action Plan, ensuring the safe drinking water is an important priority of that. So the Ministry of Environment have conducted inspection to check thousands upon thousands of major drinking water sources, not just in the cities, but even in the county towns, and started publishing all the findings, including all the gaps. And our NGO, we have a Blue Map app, and we put all these findings on the app, and one by one, we try to involve people in this process. So through concerted efforts, one by one, we can see all these gaps have been gradually been met, that the problems of pollution emission gradually resolved, and all those, many of those which are originally not comply with the standards have been enhanced.
Yeah, and also, of course, providing safe drinking water is one aspect of a beautiful China initiative. Why do you think Xi Jinping is putting a great emphasis on environmental protection? Why is it such an essential part of building a socialist modern country?
Yes, building a socialist modern country, we obviously need further economic development. But Xi Jinping stressed the absolute importance of a green development by featuring the harmony between humankind and nature. This is a further development of Xi Jinping's thought on ecological civilization. I think that will serve as a guiding principle, first and foremost, in China's overall strategy making and planning. Based on the idea to respect, to adapt to, and to protect nature, we need to make concerted efforts to try to promote the reduction of, reducing the emission and reducing pollution, cut carbon emission, and expand green, and also in the meantime try to pursue our economic growth. And this is also made in response to, based on by the understanding of people's aspiration. Now, when China's getting better off, our people, the public, need. They aspire for a clean and sound and healthy and beautiful environment. And today, Vice Minister Zhai talked about all this vast progress made in cleaning up the air and water, and this hasn't really hampered our economy. Through the process, China's per capita GDP grow by over 90% over the past 10 years. So Gold Mountain, lucid water and green mountains, they already started becoming the real gold mountains. As Qingduo mentioned, this could generate new growth point that is far more in line with our environmental protection goal.
Sure, and China has some long-term goals and short-term objectives. For example, carbon peak by year 2030 and carbon neutrality by year 2060. Tell us more about this beautiful China initiative. What are some of the defining criteria in realizing that goal? Are there, specific targets to achieve?
Yeah, despite all the progress made, we have to acknowledge our improvement so far on the environmental quality. It's still a rather basic level. Our air quality standard is still just the WHO's lowest level. So we still need further improvement. For example, we're still very much up to the weather condition to, in some of the key areas when it comes to air quality. So by 2035, when we achieve beautiful China, we will eliminate all this serious air pollution and eliminate the so-called black and smelly rivers in the urban regions, and try to enhance the environmental quality, in not just in cities but in the countryside as well, to ensure that people can enjoy a much higher quality of life, with all this beautiful environment.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, at that time, China should have already achieved a carbon peak. We already peaked our carbon emission, and by 2035, we should pass the phase of the so-called high plateau, and then we should be ready, to bend curve of our carbon emission much faster after 2035. So we need to make all kind of transformation of our energy sources and energy supply by vastly expand our renewable energy, and then enhance our efficiency, energy efficiency of our industry. So far, it's still much lower than some of the global, best practice. So and all of this, and then green consumption, green lifestyle, also should be promoted. So 2035, it's an aspirational goal, but with also a lot of very, very important targets.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Ma, this press conference just now is the longest in all the 5 press conferences in this year's session, and of course, it shows that this is a topic of great public concern and global interest. Some journalists were asking about China's climate ambitions, how China is planning to work with other countries in realizing this global climate goal. Tell us about China's experiences. Are these experiences uniquely Chinese, or can some of these be emulated by other countries?
Absolutely. I think this is, this issue has been attract so much attention, not just because this is important for the, for the interest of our 1.4 billion Chinese people. It's also very important globally. China is now the second largest economy in the world, and in the meantime, our carbon emission is nearly 1/3 of the global current, global total. So I think China understands our global responsibility. As a big country, we need to assume that responsibility, and so China started taking this role, so seriously, and through all this deal, and China's action helped to pave the way for the signing of the Paris Agreement, the historic progress agreement. And then, President Xi's carbon peak and neutrality commitment made in the year 2020 have actually caused a global, have a global impact when many of our neighboring countries started following up, and now over 130 countries and regions have made their own commitment. And through the process, China's practice to cut our carbon, improve our efficiency and manage to improve our air and water quality, all these have attracted quite some attention. Even us, as an NGO, we have been approached by quite a few, those agencies and government agencies and NGOs outside China. They want to know how China managed to do that. They want to learn from all this China's the solutions developed in China, because they are following. They probably gonna have to face the similar challenges. So they want to know how China has been doing, and also they want to know China's future, planning to synergize climate response with local pollution control.
And indeed, fighting climate change is a global cause. Thank you so much for your analysis, Mr. Majun. We appreciate that. And in his report to the 20th CPC National Congress, Xi Jinping referred to the Chinese path to modernization, One of the essential requirements of the Chinese modernization is promoting harmonious coexistence between man and nature. Hu Chao has more about the environmental achievements in Taiyuan, capital of North China's Shanxi province.
Fenghe is the second longest tributary of the Yellow River and the mother river of North China's Shanxi province. It stretches across the provincial capital Taiyuan from north to south. Guo Fan has been working at the Taiyuan Fenghe River Scenic Spot Management Committee for 2 decades. On Sunday, she watched the opening session of the 20th CPC National Congress.
I felt encouraged and inspired by the report that Xi Jinping delivered at the 20th CPC National Congress. I was most impressed by its promotion of harmony between humanity and nature. I think the ecological restoration of the Fenghe River is an example of this concept.
Fenghe River used to be contaminated by overexploitation of sand and sewage discharge and went dry from time to time.
Xi Jinping visited Shanxi 3 times over the past 5 years. He offered us important suggestions to protect Fenghe River by, for example, increasing the volume and quality of the water, making the river look beautiful, and ensuring a clear river flow into the Yellow River.
Since 2017, the province has made big investments to improve Fenghe River's water, restore its ecology, and build infrastructure. The river's environment has now dramatically improved. It has become the largest scenic spot in the city and a popular place for locals.
Here we now often see fish in the water, birds in the sky, and people strolling along the river. It's a really harmonious picture.
We often come here. Everything in this place is beautiful.
The environment has improved, and this is exactly the life that we want. I believe after the 20th CPC National Congress, the President will lead us to have a happier life.
Hu Chao, CGTN, Taiyuan, Shanxi Province.
And that's all the time we have for this special coverage. Stay tuned for Global Business with Li Dongning. Coming up next, there will be plenty of more analysis on this matter and other world news.